Welcome to the Book Talks, where stories aren't just read, they're understood. Today, the book under discussion is The Fall by Albert Camus.
Mm.
Imagine being, at the absolute peak of your life. Like, you're wealthy, universally adored, just completely morally untouchable.
Right, you basically view yourself as this ultimate force for good in the world.
Exactly. And then, one ordinary night, you hear a single phantom laugh on an
Mm.
empty bridge, and your entire curated reality it violently shatters.
It is such a fascinating setup. I mean, we are dissecting Albert Camus' 1956 masterwork today, and what makes this deep dive so deeply unsettling is the format itself.
Yeah, the format is wild.
It really is. The entire text is a dramatic monologue delivered by one man, Jean-Baptiste Clamence. And he was once this, glittering star of the Parisian legal world, right?
Right.
But now he has completely abandoned that elite existence.
Right, he's hanging out in a totally different world now.
Yeah, we find him holding court in this hazy, gin-soaked sailor's bar in Amsterdam, a place called Mexico City.
And the absolute genius of that setup is your role in it because, the person Clements is talking to in that smoky bar is you.
Yes, the listener.
Right. You, the listener, are dropped directly into the shoes of his silent companion. You're sitting across this sticky table. The fog is rolling in through the canals outside, nursing a drink, while this total stranger forces you to listen to his confession.
He basically traps you in this narrative, and
Okay.
by doing that, he's making you reflect on his dissent, and ultimately, he's forcing you to turn this really harsh spotlight on your own morality.
Which is super uncomfortable.
Oh, totally. Because Clemence understands that to appreciate a fall, you first have to measure the height of the summit. So he spends a good amount of time painting a picture of his past life in Paris.
Right, setting up how great he used to be.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't just a successful defense attorney. He had cultivated the reputation of being this, legal saint.
A saint. Wow.
Yeah, he specialized almost entirely in what he called noble cases. So defending widows, orphans, the utterly disenfranchised. He describes living in a state of just absolute effortless grace.
He had this profound, almost physical and psychological need to feel above humanity, right?
Yes. He always tells you he preferred mountains, the top decks of ships, and above all else, the moral high ground.
He practically glows in the dark when he describes his past goodness. I mean, he talks about how he'd rush forward to guide blind people across the street, tipping his hat to them.
Right, the grand gesture.
Yeah, he lived for giving up his seat on the bus, handing out alms to beggars, rescuing stranded motorists. But, listening to him recount these deeds, it feels completely devoid of actual warmth.
It does. It feels very cold.
Right. It sounds like he was treating morality like a high score in a video game. I find myself wondering, is he actually a good person or just desperately addicted to the vanity of playing a good person?
Well, that's exactly the sickness Clemence himself begins to diagnose. He confesses that his internal monologue was dominated by this single, deafening refrain, which was just, I.
Just totally self-centered.
Completely. Every charitable act, every impassioned courtroom defense, it was fundamentally a mechanism to feed his own ego. He looked at his clients not as, human beings in need, but as these wretched props that highlighted his own excellence.
Oh, wow. So they were just tools for him.
Exactly. By always being the savior, he placed himself in a category above judgment. He viewed himself as a kind of Superman, perfectly in harmony with life. He didn't just want to do good deeds, he required the universe to witness him doing them and, offer a standing ovation.
So it's the ultimate performative altruism. And for a long time, the performance actually pays off. I mean, he's rich, he's wildly popular, successful with women, respected by his peers.
He's just floating on this cloud of self-satisfaction.
Right, way above the gritty realities of everyday life.
Yeah.
But a life built on an illusion is super fragile. The slightest vibration can bring the whole structure down.
And that vibration, the thing that shatters his world, happens on a completely ordinary autumn evening. He's walking across the Pont des Arts in Paris, feeling this overwhelming, warm sense of power and completion.
Just totally full of himself.
Exactly. He pauses, leaning on the railing, about to light a cigarette to savor his own perfection, and then, out of nowhere, he hears a laugh behind him.
A good, hearty, almost friendly laugh, right?
Yeah. So he spins around, but the bridge is completely empty. The river is empty. There is absolutely no one there. The laugh seems to, emanate from nowhere, or maybe from the dark water of the Seine itself.
That is such a chilling psychological trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not supernatural, but it haunts him like a ghost.
It really does. That phantom laugh acts as an inescapable wedge into his subconscious. It cracks the cognitive dissonance he's relied on for all these years.
Because of that laugh, his brain involuntarily starts digging up buried memories, right? Like forcing him to confront the hypocrisy he's been so successfully hiding from himself.
Exactly. And this is how we get to his sudden obsession with a seemingly trivial memory, the motorcycle incident.
Oh, right. This part is fascinating.
Yeah, so the laugh breaks the dam, and Clamence is forced to recall being stalled at a green light in Paris. A smaller man on a motorcycle cuts in front of his car, causing him to stall his engine.
Standard city traffic stuff.
Right. So horns are blaring, words are exchanged, and Clamence steps out, fully intending to physically thrash the man. But a crowd forms, a bystander intervenes, and in all the chaos, the motorcyclist violently strikes Clamence on the ear and speeds off.
And Clamence is just stunned.
Totally stunned by the blow and the aggressive crowd, so he simply gets back in his car and drives away. But afterward, he spends months running a mental film of the incident, fantasizing about hunting the man down and brutally beating him to a pulp.
Okay, but wait, let me push back on his reaction to this.
Yeah.
I mean, getting punched in traffic and choosing to drive away instead of starting a massive street brawl, doesn't that just mean he's civilized?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. I mean, most people would call that having basic impulse control. Why does this ridiculous minor traffic dispute completely destroy his self-image?
It's because of what the fantasy of revenge reveals about his underlying motives. Clamence realizes that his core drive in that moment had absolutely nothing to do with justice or being civilized.
What was it then?
His desire was for pure animalistic dominance. He didn't want to be the most generous man in Paris. He wanted to be the strongest, to physically crush anyone who dared offend him.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, driving away wasn't an act of high-minded restraint. It was sheer cowardice. He backed down because he was afraid of the crowd. The fact that he pacified the situation in reality only to obsessively fantasize about savage violence later proved to him that his quote-unquote civilized persona was just cowardice dressed up as good manners.
Wow, that completely shatters the illusion of the benevolent Superman. If his restraint is just fear, then his entire moral foundation is a total lie.
Exactly. And he applies this same devastating logic to his romantic life, too. He admits he never truly loved the women he was with.
Right? He was terrible to them.
He was. He engaged in emotional manipulation, playing this calculated game where he would act mysterious and detached just to force them into a state of melancholy surrender.
Which is so toxic.
It gets worse. The most damning detail is his desire for them to remain forever faithful to him, mourning his absence, swearing they would never touch another man while he felt absolutely nothing for them.
He just wanted to own them.
Pretty much. He wanted to hoard their affection and exert total control over their lives without ever paying the cost of genuine emotional vulnerability.
So he was stockpiling human beings just to prove he could.
Yeah.
He wants the absolute devotion of a partner, but he wants to stay safely on his pedestal, totally insulated from the risk of a real relationship.
Precisely.
So, piece by piece, the facade of the noble defender is permanently cracked. But, this traffic dispute and his toxic dating habits, they feel like symptoms. Like, the phantom laugh wasn't just mocking a bruised ego in traffic. The laugh was pointing to a much darker rot at the center of his soul.
And that takes us straight to the absolute bottom of his psychological plunge. Clamence finally unearths the darkest secret of his life, confessing it directly to you in the bar.
The moment on the bridge.
Yes. 2 or 3 years before he heard that phantom laugh on the Pont des Arts, he was walking over the Seine late at night in the freezing drizzle. He passed a slim young woman dressed in black, leaning over the railing, staring down into the dark water.
He notes her presence, but he just keeps walking.
Right.
He gets about 50 yards away, and then he hears it. The unmistakable sound of a body striking the water. It echoes in the midnight silence. Then comes a cry, moving downstream with the current, repeating, and then abruptly, permanently stopping.
We really have to examine his physical and mental reaction in that split second because it defines the rest of his existence. He stops short. He doesn't turn around.
He just freezes.
He stands frozen, trembling. His mind races, and he tells himself, too late, too far. He listens to the heavy silence of the night, and then he slowly walks away in the rain.
He doesn't call for help.
He never tells a soul.
He literally just walks away. I mean, the great celebrated defender of widows and orphans, the man who practically breaks his own arm patting himself on the back for helping a blind person cross a busy intersection, hears a woman drowning in a freezing river, And he doesn't even turn his head to look.
This is the crux of Camus's exploration of performative morality. This singular act of inaction, this cowardice, proves definitively that Clamence's entire existence was a fraud.
It was all fake.
Every courtroom speech about justice, every coin tossed to a beggar, it was all theater. When the universe presented him with a genuine life-or-death moral test, one with no audience to applaud him, no judge to praise his nobility, and actual physical risk to his own life, he chose his own comfort over another human being's survival.
Because without the audience, the morality vanishes. He let her die because jumping into a freezing river might have killed him, or at the very least severely inconvenienced him.
And that's when he realizes he is completely irredeemably guilty. The laugh he heard years later wasn't a ghost. It was the universe and his own suppressed conscience finally catching up to him, mocking his staggering hypocrisy.
Wow.
He realizes he has been sitting on the judge's bench of life, passing down verdicts on society while secretly being the ultimate criminal.
So his perfect Parisian life just collapses under the weight of that realization. He abandons the law. He tries to drown his guilt and debauchery, trying to silence the memory, but the echo of that cry in the night just follows him everywhere.
It never leaves him.
Which pulls us out of the flashbacks and drops us right back into the present moment, sitting across from him in Amsterdam. And his choice of Amsterdam isn't just a scenic backdrop for a breakdown, is there?
Not at all. Camus utilizes the geography of Amsterdam brilliantly. Clamence explicitly compares the city's concentric canals to the circles of hell.
Like Dante's Inferno.
Exactly. Specifically, the middle-class hell, peopled with bad dreams and quiet desperation. As you move inward through the watery canals, life becomes denser, darker, and heavier with guilt. And at the very center, the innermost circle of this damp inferno, sits the Mexico City bar.
It's not just a setting, it feels like a psychological escape room. Like he's ushered you in, sat you down, and slowly locked the door behind you.
That's a great way to put it.
And inside this escape room, there's this fascinating physical prop that anchors his entire new worldview. Up in Clamence's sparse-rented room, hidden away in a dark cupboard, is a real-world painting. A stolen panel from the famous Van Eyck altarpiece. The specific panel he possesses is called The Just Judges.
Yes. And Clamence weaves this actual historical art theft into the narrative to profound effect. Clamence explains that a regular at the bar stole the painting and sold it for a bottle of gin, but Clamence took possession of it and keeps it locked away in the dark.
The symbolism there is super thick.
Oh, it's heavy. By locking the just judges in a cupboard, he is physically manifesting his new philosophy. Justice and innocence have been permanently severed. He keeps the false judges, the corrupt patrons on display at the bar, and the true judges locked in his cupboard.
Wait, if true justice is locked away in the dark, what's left out in the open for the rest of us?
Universal guilt. Clamence has concluded that everyone is guilty, everyone is a hypocrite, and there are no righteous judges left to preside over humanity, which introduces his bizarre new profession.
Right, he doesn't call himself a lawyer anymore.
No, he introduces himself to you in that bar as a judge-penitent.
I really want to break down that title because judge-penitent is a total oxymoron. How can you be the one handing down the sentence and the one begging for forgiveness at the exact same time?
It sounds contradictory until you see how he uses it.
Because hold on, if he's confessing all of his horrible flaws to strangers, his cowardice, his vanity, letting the woman drown, he's basically beating his critics to the punch. If you aggressively judge yourself in public, you strip the power away from anyone else trying to judge you.
Right. You've hit on the exact mechanism of his strategy. Clamence could not survive the laughter. He could not bear being judged by a universe that knew he was a fraud. So he engineered a psychological loophole.
A loophole?
It is weaponized repentance. Think about it. How do you avoid the unbearable weight of judgment? You confess first. You cover yourself in ashes. You detail your worst sins so thoroughly and so brutally that no one can possibly add a single word of criticism against you.
It's brilliant, but it's incredibly toxic. Because he doesn't just stop at his own confession. Like, he starts his story with, I was the lowest of the low, but as the nights in the bar go on, his language subtly shifts.
Yes, it shifts from I to we.
Exactly. He stops saying I and starts saying we. He tells you, this is what we are. He's dragging you down into the mud with him.
It is the ultimate intellectual defense mechanism. By confessing his own horrible hypocritical sins to strangers in the bar, he creates a mirror. He plunges to the absolute bottom of human degradation solely so he can build a new pedestal out of self-awareness.
So he reaches the bottom so he can once again look down on others.
Precisely. He tells the listener, The more I accuse myself, the more I have a right to judge you. By proving that he is a monster and then holding up a mirror to prove that human nature makes everyone a monster, he neutralizes his own guilt.
That is so twisted.
It is. He has found a twisted way to permit himself all his old vices. His pride, his need for dominance, his feeling of superiority without suffering the haunting laughter, because he has convinced himself that the whole world is just as corrupt as he is.
He's using his own moral bankruptcy as a weapon to destroy your self-esteem. Which brings us to the massive final twist of the book.
Yes, the trap springs shut.
For days, you, the listener, have been entirely silent. But at the very end, Clamence stops his monologue and addresses your specific identity. He's been playing detective all along. He reveals that you aren't just some random tourist wandering through Amsterdam. You are a lawyer from Paris. You share his exact background.
Clamence recognizes a perfect reflection of himself. He knows that his silent companion shares his bourgeois comforts, his societal standing, and crucially, his underlying hypocrisy. He's basically confessed his sins to his own mirror image.
It's all a setup.
Totally. And in the final pages, sweating, delirious with the fever in his room, Clamence begs the listener to say the words he has desperately longed to hear for years. He says, "Oh, young woman, throw yourself into the water again so that I may a second time have the chance of saving both of us."
He wants a do-over. He wants a chance to be brave.
Ah.
But then, the very next breath, he takes it entirely back. He shivers and says, "Brr, the water's so cold. But let's not worry. It's too late now. It will always be too late, fortunately."
That single word, fortunately, is perhaps the most devastating conclusion in modern literature.
It really hits hard.
After all his agonizing, all his elaborate confessions and philosophical maneuvering, he admits the darkest truth. Even if time magically rewound, even if he were standing on that bridge with a second chance, he still wouldn't jump.
Because the water's too cold.
The water is too cold and the risk is too real. He ultimately prefers the safety of his guilt, the comfort of his intellectual games, and his dry, warm room over the actual, messy, terrifying act of risking his life to do the right thing.
It is an absolute gut punch. And, because of how Camus structured the book, Clamence isn't just indicting himself. He is turning to you, the listener, and demanding you answer for your own life.
He really is. Camus is using Clamence to ask you a deeply uncomfortable question. Are you truly good? Or are you just performing goodness for an audience?
It forces you to look deeply at the polite fictions you tell yourself. Like when you donate to charity, when you post the quote-unquote correct moral outrage online, when you help a neighbor, are you acting out of pure, unfiltered altruism? Or are you just performing goodness for an audience? Are you building a facade to feel superior to everyone else?
Camus leaves us completely cornered by this inquiry. Clamence is undeniably a monster by the end of the narrative, but he is a deeply, uncomfortably relatable monster.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
He represents the aggregate of modern society's performative vices. We all have that I refrain echoing in our minds. We all crave the moral high ground without wanting to pay the sacrifice required to truly earn it. Clamence's concession is not just a story, it is a targeted attack on our own moral complacency.
It just strips away all the comforting lies we use to sleep at night. Which leaves you with a final point to ponder, something that will just echo in your mind long after you leave that smoky, gin-soaked bar in Amsterdam. Imagine yourself walking alone at night. If the circumstances were exactly right, if there was real physical danger, and absolutely no one would ever know what you did, would you jump into the freezing water to save a stranger? Or would you keep walking? And if you kept walking, how would you live with the laugh that follows you?
That is the ultimate question.
Thanks for listening to Book Talks. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for the next conversation.